Hey everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm doing another interview. My guest today is Charlotte Beckett. She appeared in Emmerdale, and you may also recognise her from the Demon Headmaster. Today she's going to be coming on and telling us all about those TV shows, her acting experiences, some advice, and maybe a behind the scenes story. So it is with great pleasure that I welcome Charlotte to my channel and to this interview.
Hi, I'm Charlotte Beckett. I'm an actress from London, and you might recognise me from some productions such as Emmerdale, The Demon Headmaster, or Penny Dreadful.
Thank you so much for coming, Charlotte. So today I'm going to be interviewing you, and I've got 10 questions based on your acting career. And my first question for you is, when did you first get into the acting world?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Charlie. It's great to be here. Great question. So I think I first got into it when I was at sixth form college doing my AS and A-levels. And I chose to do theatre studies and media studies. I went to a college that had a big media department, so there was a lot of attention on those subjects. And I actually wanted to be a producer to begin with because I was really enjoying the media studies. But I was also really enjoying my theatre studies, and I had a couple of amazing teachers, one of which called Andy. The other is actually quite a famous actor. He is best known for playing Harry Potter's dad in all of the films, although you don't see him that often because it's mostly in flashbacks and stuff, but he was one of the teachers there. And I really enjoyed theatre studies. They really encouraged me, and I just thought, why not try to get into drama school with their tutoring? So I tried, and I got into the 1-year course at Lambda, and then I went to the 3-year course at Alra afterwards. And they were both very different training, but yeah, I just really enjoyed it, so it kind of went from there.
Yeah, sounds like you did really enjoy it. It's great that you've had all of those experiences too. In 2019, you starred in The Demon Headmaster as Dinah Hunter. What was it like playing that character?
I was so happy when I saw from my agent that I got an audition for The Demon Headmaster, because I used to watch it when I was younger, growing up. It was a big show in the late 90s, I think. And I remembered it really, really well. So I was like, they're making it again. This is so cool. I need to be a part of it. So that was exciting. And the good thing about the fact that I was playing Dinah Hunter was that I had all the references of the old episodes. So I rewatched them, got a feel for her character again, reminded myself of the storyline. And yeah, I went for the casting, met the producer, met the director, and I think it really helped that they felt that I fit the character and I didn't look too dissimilar from the original actress that played her. But it was a dream to be part of that production because I remember it so well, and I was terrified of the original Demon Headmaster. And in the last episodes of the first season, you see that he comes back. So the fact that I got to meet him in person as well, and actually, bless him, he is such a nice, gentle man. But I was terrified of him growing up. So the whole thing was I always felt like I was a fan on set. Like, it was really cool to be part of the Demon Headmaster. I loved it.
Yeah, it does sound really cool, and it's great that you got to meet somebody who you watched when you were younger on TV. So yeah, that's great for you. Do you have any advice to people who want to get into the acting industry?
Oh my goodness, I have so much advice. We could literally be here all day because I've learnt so many things on the job that I wasn't really aware of at drama school. They don't necessarily teach you because you can't get taught it. It's experience-led. I think a couple of things that I'd say. One is be creative. Like yourself, Charlie, you're making these videos, you're interviewing in your own time, you're getting yourself out there. You can't rely on other people to get you work in this industry. And even if you're practicing on smaller projects, getting material for your showreel, it's invaluable that you get so much material. So self-tape yourself, practice, get groups of friends together and make a short film. There's so many groups that you can find online, sort of young filmmakers you can be a part of. Obviously these jobs are unpaid, but it's the experience that you need and also the footage that you need for your showreel. So I'm mostly talking about acting on screen because I don't really do theatre acting. So for screen acting, you need to get yourself a good showreel. And then you also need to get yourself a good agent because it is hard representing yourself in the industry. You can get yourself quite a lot of work, and networking is a massive factor of the job. But the better your showreel is, and the better you appear, sort of you have different characters and whatever, sort of short sections of each scene. A showreel can just be a couple of minutes long. then the more likely the agent will just, click on the link, watch it from their computer and get you in for a meeting. So definitely keep creative, practice, learn how to edit stuff on your computer, because even when you're doing self-tapes at home, especially during, lockdown, but before that, if you're doing, productions that are abroad, shooting in America or Europe, you will be shooting this probably from home. So get used to doing that. Work out where the good place is for lighting, and get a good microphone. You can use your camera phone, of course, but getting stuff like editing equipment on your computer, you can just use basic stuff that's free to download onto your computer, but just practice so that when actually something comes along that's a chance, you're not going to be stressing with the small things. You can just concentrate on acting and delivering your lines in the best way that you can, because you've done all of this practice before. So yeah, get creative.
Yeah, that's some great advice. Thank you so much for sharing it. I think lots of people will hopefully take something on from it. So yeah, thanks for sharing it. In 2018, you played Eleanor in Emmerdale. What was it like being on that set?
Yeah, Emmerdale was really an interesting experience. I was only in a couple of episodes, but it was actually my first taster of working on a British soap. So I hadn't really done much British TV before. I'd done some American series, but not and film, but this was my first taster to British soap. So that was really interesting, because on films, which is what I had previously done most of, you might do, a couple of pages in a day, every single moment you redo and you retake in different angles, and there's a lot that goes into it. With the soaps, time is of the essence. You have got so much material to get through in such a small space of time. You could shoot, 20 pages in a day, and you only get sort of one take. There's a couple of camera setups, there's multiple cameras, but you might only just get one take. And if they're happy with it, they just move on. So the fast-paced nature of it, I kind of could have cranked into gear. I was like, wait for me. But they were really lovely. I was also a little nervous, apprehensive. It's always nerve-wracking going to a different job, because you're the newbie, right? So it's quite an isolating job being an actor on set, because you're alone in front of the camera for most of the time. The crew kind of all know each other. They might have been on the production for a while. They might have worked together on other productions. And then you've got, the hair and makeup department, the costume department. They're kind of a department of themselves. But you're a newbie coming in, meeting everyone, and suddenly you're in front of the camera and you've got to just own it. You've got to be present and just be there. So I was a little daunted, because obviously Emmerdale's such an established soap. It has been going on for so long. Everyone knows each other. And there's little old me turning up for my first day at work. But you know what? They were so lovely. It was shot up in Leeds, and everyone was so, so sweet. They all introduced themselves, made me feel at home. But yeah, the thing that got me the most was just the fast-paced nature of working on a soap. You just have to deliver every single time, because you might not get a second shot at it. You might not get a second take. So that's what I learned most there.
Sounds like an amazing experience for you, like going to set. And was it kind of different filming wise to anything you've ever done before? Was it kind of unique in a way?
Definitely. It was unique, because also Emmerdale, they have their own studios. So up in Leeds, there are the Emmerdale studios. So it's big studios that's literally, there's nothing else going on there apart from Emmerdale. So there's a canteen, and you see all the characters there, because they're filming multiple episodes at the same time with different directors in different parts of the studio. And also on set, sort of the external set is beautiful streets towards Harrogate Way. It's stunning. But actually where I was filming was all on location in around Leeds, because we were filming in an art gallery, we were filming in my so-called house, we were filming in a restaurant. So these were all on location. But going back into, and the beginning of the day, and for lunch, going back to the studios itself for your lunch to see everyone else. And it's a different experience, because there were so many different episodes being filmed at once. And the storylines keep crossing over. And, I was only in a couple of episodes, but for the regulars, that's quite difficult to get your head around, because you're like, right, which episode are we in now, and what's happened? I know I just filmed that before, and it's already happened, or I haven't known about it yet. Or, you've got to sort of get your head around the logistics of things and the setup so that you know exactly what's happening in the scene that you're filming now.
Well, that sounds like kind of stressful in a way, but it sounds really exciting and fun. I never knew that they like filmed episodes at different times. I always thought they like had like a couple days per episode. So yeah, that's crazy that they do that.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it obviously works for them really, really well, and they're so successful. So
yeah, 100%. Have you always wanted to be an actor?
Well, I've definitely always been kind of interested in performing. When I was little, I've got 2 younger sisters, and I was so bossy when we were younger that I used to make these plays for my parents to watch, and I used to make them watch it, you know, like wherever we were. I used to write these plays, and they could be a mix, you know, one of them was like a Christmas special, and it was like a mixture of different characters from Fawlty Towers, Absolutely Fabulous, and Third Rock from the Sun, and for some reason they're all on an aeroplane together. And I remember this one, and I used to make the sets. We used to paint the sets and stuff, and I used to make, you know, my grandparents and my parents and my auntie like come and watch. But we had our house is on 2 floors, and there was sort of a landing upstairs that's quite high up with banisters, and then the downstairs sections where I put my audience. But they're like literally sitting there like this, watching the whole time, because it's quite high up to watch where we were. And every time they stopped watching, I'd kind of break character and be like, "Mum, you're not paying attention." And she's like, "Oh, my neck hurts." So like, I definitely had it in me from a young age. But as I said before, I didn't take it seriously until I was sort of 16, 17, and thought, I could have a go at this and go to drama school and get the training. And if I didn't like it, I'd just do something else, no pressure. But that actually sounds like something I would love to do. So why not follow your dreams to start off with? And if it doesn't work out, at least you tried.
That's really great, and I like how you did shows when you were younger and you made your sets and everything. That's really cool. In 2015, you appeared in the TV series Penny Dreadful. What was it like being in that?
Wow, that was probably, I have to say, the best show that I've worked on, because it was an American show by Showtime. It was on Sky Atlantic over in the UK. But just to have an American budget, like glossy production was insane. So I was in the 2nd season. So I'd seen the 1st season already, and just the special effects on it, the costume, the makeup, everything that went into it was just perfect. Like the direction, the way that the mise en scène was created, it was just so beautiful and really like Hollywood, you know, really flawless and American and glossy. And I was like, this is a really cool production. We filmed in Dublin, so I spent the majority of 6 months going back and forth to Dublin, because even though, again, I was only in a couple of episodes, there's so much that goes into that show behind the scenes that you need to practice. Because we had I played one of the witches, and we had these fight sequences. We had to do all of this prep training. We had to do our own stunts. We had all of these fight rehearsals. Then I had prosthetics. So we had all of these fittings for prosthetics where they had to, oh my goodness, the scariest thing that's ever happened to me, probably in my life, is basically being buried alive, to have a head cast made for you. So the prosthetics team needed a full head cast. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these videos of how they make these head casts, but they basically, it's like a kind of papier-mâché effect, but instead of using that, it's like a silicone that they put on your face, and it dries after like 30 seconds, and then they break it off. But to do that, they have to really mold it to your face, and it's quite warm, and they leave your nostrils open so you can breathe. But it's such a thick, dense material, and it's quite a sort of a warm liquid that dries. You can't see anything. You can't hear anything. It's like you're underwater. So you can hear people really, really far away. And it's quite hot in there. It gets quite warm. And they cover your mouth as well. So literally you just got your nose. You can't see anything. It's like you're buried underground. But they were amazing. They made me feel, I mean, I'm a bit claustrophobic, so I found it difficult. But they made me feel at ease, because they kept on talking to me, and I kept on having to put my thumbs up like this. And if I was to do this at any point or this, they would take it off straight away. So I always knew that I had to get out, but I was like, I'm going to do this. But it was really quite daunting. So they had to make the prosthetics. I had to have contact lens fittings for the contact lenses, which, again, I'm such a wimp. I I could barely do mascara without getting freaked out about my eye. I'm like Rachel from Friends, if you ever watched that episode where she has an eye infection and she needs eye drops. She can't do the eye drops. That was like me. So I was like, how am I going to do contact lenses, let alone eye drops, or the other way around? And they had to sort of make the contact lenses for your eyes. They also had to make fangs for us. So I had to go to a special dentist that fitted all these fangs, got molds of our teeth. There was so much work that went into the character. I then had the daytime part of the character, which was these beautiful Victorian dresses and this big wigs, which again had to be fitted, had to be made to measure. The costume department were amazing. The hair department were amazing. So all of this stuff was going on first, and then we had some rehearsals, and then we went for filming. But the biggest thing about Penny Dreadful was just the enormous nature of the show. You had, like I said before with Emmerdale, the complete opposite in terms of you could spend all day and only film literally the bottom section of a page, because everything had to be perfect and maybe something was wrong. And my prosthetics took 8 hours to be ready. So when I was in that full-blown get up of attacking, when we're attacking at night, we were these night creatures. So we had scars all over our bodies. We had these bald caps on. So I had to cut my hair relatively short because they had to hide all the hair under the bald cap. We had to get the contact lenses in, the fangs. That took 8 hours head to toe. So we were called to set at 3 o'clock in the morning. And we were standing up in these makeup trailers. There was 3 of us. And the makeup and prosthetics team were the best in the world. Nick Dudman led the prosthetics team. He did Harry Potter. He did all of those films. And Sarita Allison. And we stood there and there was 2 or 3 people working on us for 8 hours until 11 a.m. And then we were ready to go to set. And then we probably worked, I don't know, until 6 p.m. or something. But then it took about an hour and a half or 2 hours to get out of the prosthetics. So the whole process was exhausting, but an amazing experience.
Yeah, it does sound exhausting, and I can't believe how much work goes into all those shows. It's really incredible. So my next question for you is, what was the audition process like for the Demon Headmaster?
So the Demon Headmaster was actually quite straightforward and quick casting process. Sometimes these things take months and months and months. I just got, my agent called me as normal and said, you've got an audition tomorrow or the next day for the Demon Headmaster, and here's the material. So had to learn the couple of scenes. Went into a casting studio in Soho in London and met, actually to begin with, the first round, it was just the casting assistants there. So it was just the casting director and the assistants filming me. So I had a couple of opportunities to read the scenes with the casting assistant, obviously the other side of the camera, feeding me the lines. So that was that. And then maybe a week later, I get a call saying you've got a recall. So you need to go back to the same casting studio and it's the same scenes. So I think there was 2 or 3 scenes. So I went back the following week and met Spencer, the executive producer. And I think the director was also there. So there was 2 of them there. And so again, the casting assistant read me the lines, and I was very aware, of the corner of my eye, that I've got these 4 pairs of eyes on me as well. But you really have to kind of, blank that out and just be in the moment, even though sometimes you're auditioning in the most random of spaces and some things are so distracting. There might be a noise in the background or people moving, but you just have to stay so focused. And it was really great that I'd already done the first round. So the lines were kind of imprinted in my head. I'd done these scenes a couple of times with the same casting assistant. He was great. So, and then Spencer asked me to do the scene a couple more times, different directions. And then I think it was about 2 weeks later. It's so funny because, you don't often hear anything. So even if you've been penciled for a job, it's a very frustrating part of the industry, actually. You can get your hopes up a lot. And so many times I've been down to the last 1 or the last 2, or they loved you, hold these dates. You might be off to Sweden filming this film for the whole summer, so keep your summer free. You got all of this going on, and then you don't hear anything. You don't even hear they went with someone else in the end. You might not hear anything. So hearing nothing is never a good thing, because you think, oh, they must have given it to someone else. But I think it was about a week or 10 days later, they messaged me through my agent and said, yeah, we'd love to offer you the role of Dinah Hunter. These are the dates. We were filming up in Glasgow, so I had to be based up there for about 8 weeks, which was a great experience because I've never been to Glasgow before, and it's a really, really fun city. So yeah, that's how it all worked, but it actually was relatively quick. They were already filming the first block when I was auditioning for this. That's why the turnaround was really quickly, because Dinah Hunter only came about, I think episode 7 she was revealed, because it was a big secret that she came back. So I was in the second block, so they were already filming the first one. So that was why it was so quick, because they needed to fill the position. I had to go up to Glasgow on the train about 3 weeks later and start filming.
Yeah, that sounds like a really exciting, like you said, kind of quick process. Was it kind of, were you looking forward to leaving really quickly and going up to Scotland?
Yeah, definitely. I love it when you book a job and the turnaround is really quick, because like next week you could be flying to Romania for a job or whatever it is. So you kind of, again, it's a difficult thing about managing your personal life when you're an actor, because often you have to cancel, which is really difficult, but it's happened so many times. You've had to cancel on, I don't know, a holiday that you've booked with your friend, or other commitments that you have in your personal diary, like so-and-so's birthday, or, you know, hopefully not a wedding, because that's really difficult to get out of. But you do have other things that you obviously have in your calendar on the weekends for, like, you know, weeks in advance, that suddenly you have to be like, oh, sorry, I can't go anymore because I've got a job. And you're really excited because you've got a job. At the same time, you don't want to let people down in your personal life. But all my friends and family are quite, used to that and very supportive, and obviously happy that I've got a job, because they know it's, you know, quite difficult to get work in this industry. So, so I was very happy to go up to Glasgow for the summer. And it's, as I said, it was a really, really, really fun city. And I got to know it quite well during 6 weeks. So that was really fun.
Yeah, it does sound really fun. Also in 2019, you appeared in Drop Dead. What was that like?
Oh my goodness. Do you want the honest answer or?
Honest, yeah, honest.
Oh, it was awful. Basically, I lived in LA for a couple of years actually, and had an O1 visa to work out there as an actor. So I had a manager over there, and I got my visa to work out there for 3 years, which is something that is an amazing experience. But LA is super, super tough, because, you know, no one knows you out there. There are so many other actors as well. Everyone's an actor. You know, your Uber driver's an actor, the bartender's an actor, the waiter's an actor, everyone. But it's always good to give it a go and try. And the weather out there is insane. So even just to go out there for a bit of, you know, sunshine and hope to work. But so I was living out there for a couple of years, but I actually had to come back to England for another job or a period of time. Anyway, I got this job, Drop Dead, through a self-tape that I had to do at home. They knew I was based in America. They knew I was based in the UK at that point, and they knew I was English, but it was an American-speaking part, so American accent. And I did the self-tape, and I was thinking, there's no way I'm going to get this job, because it was a low-budget, independent short film. So they don't have big budget. So I was thinking they're not going to, you know, be able to fly me back to LA. The flights are expensive in itself. And also it's an American part. Surely they'd choose someone that's local. Anyway, next thing you know, I get a phone call saying, yep, they loved you. They want you to come over, and they're booking you a flight for next week. And I was like, great. Okay, fine. And it was like maybe, I think, around June time. So I went back to LA. It was filming in Palm Springs, which is in the desert. It's about a 2-hour drive from Los Angeles. It is hot there, so hot. I cannot even tell you how hot it is, especially in June. You wake up at 7 a.m, it's already 30 degrees. By 10 a.m. in the morning, it's 35 degrees. It's near 40 during midday. So it's so hot. I got flown there. I literally was there for about 4 days. So the time difference also, by the way, is 8 hours. It's a 12-hour flight, 8-hour time difference. And I went straight off the airplane, having not slept, straight to someone picking me up, driving me 2 hours to Palm Springs. I was completely exhausted, disorientated, and it was so hot. And then we started filming the next day. And it's a horror film. It's a horror short film. But the whole thing was, I was completely like, didn't know what time of day it was. Yeah, super tired, had to, you know, thinking American accent, had to concentrate, all of this stuff. I'm quite scared of big dogs. And there's a scene where I'm driving this beautiful old Porsche Speedster, 1957, beautiful old Porsche. It's a convertible. I'm driving around Palm Springs. If you've ever seen pictures of Palm Springs, it literally is exactly like the postcards, like tall palm trees either side, like mountains in the background, desert. It's beautiful. And we were doing shot after shot after shot outside in this car, myself and my co-actor to the side. I was driving. It's a really, really difficult car to drive as well, because obviously it's an old gear shift car. I'm used to driving manual cars, that's not a problem, but the clutch was super difficult. It was very clunky. It was very low to the ground. It would stall if you weren't, you know, I couldn't go too fast because the cameras were next to us in a van filming, so we had to go really slowly. We were on the normal roads as well. They weren't very busy, but it wasn't like they cut off any of the traffic or whatever. So I had to also look around to make sure we weren't going to have a crash, but also delivering my lines. They wanted me to look to my co-star like all the time. So I wasn't really looking where I was going. Had to constantly direct my lines in an American accent, completely jet lagged, 40-degree heat, and it was an open top car, right? So I'm just worried I'm getting sunburnt. It's getting really hot. I'm sweating. Like everything you could throw at me that day, like was thrown at me. It was just like so much going on. And a lot of the time with these smaller projects, it overruns. They've got 2 days to shoot everything. In that particular project, there was a disagreement between a couple of the directors and producers on the creative aspects. So they were like, no, we want to do it this way. No, we want to do it this way. They spent a long time discussing that. And then, you know, the day was ticking by and I was thinking, oh my God, you know, it's 6 p.m. I've been up since 5 a.m. When are we going to wrap? It's already been 13, 14 hours. And in my contract, because it was such a small project, you have to worry about, you know, how many hours you're going to be working for. And they'd already gone way over that. I wanted to get it finished, obviously, because I was flying home like tomorrow or the next day. But it was just very disorganized because it was sort of a low budget film that had a lot of cooks in the kitchen, let's say, like a lot of disagreements. I was working with this massive dog who was sitting in the back of the car and his face was literally here the whole time. It was huge. And I was also terrified of that. So, you know, all of these things were going on. I was like, please get me home. I just want to go home now. It was fun. It looked great. And honestly, like Palm Springs is such a beautiful backdrop for a film. But I have to say that's one of the projects that I've had that I definitely don't have fond memories of. You're not going to love every single project. A job is a job, you know. It's great if you do enjoy the project, but that was particularly tough because of all of these things that were thrown at me. And I think we worked about 18-hour day that day. It was a long day.
Yeah, that does sound really tough, like all of those things happening. And then, I mean, I can't even picture being in that amount of heat. So yeah, that must have been really hard for you.
Yeah, it was super tough. And this dog kept on like dribbling and, you know, like shaking its head. And every time it did that, it was, I don't even know what type of dog it was. I think it was like a big old boxer, like something like that. That's, you know, got one of those like really like droopy mouths and like quite a squashed face. And it meant that it like gets a lot of saliva. So and it was obviously trying to cool down because it was so hot itself. I felt really sorry for him. But every time it shook his head like this, the saliva would go like all over myself and my actor friend next to me. And I was just literally like, ew.
That sounds horrible. What has been the best moment in your acting career?
That's such a hard question, Charlie, because there have been so many amazing moments. I have to briefly say as well that, and I think this is part, maybe, it might be useful to some of you, that I've had quite a good career in commercial modelling, commercial acting as well. And at drama school, to begin with, they were like, oh, you shouldn't do commercials, you know, you shouldn't be seen on commercials, they won't take you seriously as an actor. Things have definitely changed these days. There are so many commercials out there and a lot of actors are doing commercials. And it's a way to pay the bills because, again, you're doing these smaller artistic projects that might not pay you very much. But then you get a commercial that can pay you thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds for 1 or 2 days' work. So I would definitely recommend getting a commercial agent as well and trying for advertising because there's a part out there for everyone. And also it's a full-on day. It's pretty intense doing commercials, but the money's really great and you get to travel a lot. So I was going to say one of the best things about acting is that you get to travel a lot. And my commercial career has taken me to Thailand, has taken me to Barcelona, has taken me to Paris, south of France, Romania, Slovenia, like so many places. And I got to see the place at the same time. But I think probably my best acting moment was on Penny Dreadful, because again it was just such an epic production. There was a moment where myself as the witch was attacking this carriage, horse-drawn carriage, and inside the carriage was Josh Hartnett and Eva Green, two Hollywood stars, and we had to attack the carriage, myself and these two other girls, Olivia and Nicole, who were playing the other witches. We were full on head to toe scars, contact lenses in, which by the way only means we can see tunnel vision. It's like a tiny black dot in the middle of this coloured contact lens. So we couldn't see anything. I couldn't see anything in the peripheral vision. It's only like this much I could see. So it's made it quite difficult to do the fight scenes. That's why we had to practice so much, because otherwise it would have been quite dangerous. So we were attacking this carriage. We broke this fake glass and we were coming in through the windows and attacking them. The carriage rolled onto its side. We attacked. I had this harness strapped around my waist, around my legs, so that I was flipped upside down, coming in through the window to attack them upside down in this harness. And at one moment, I look at them. We talk in a witch's tongue. I can't remember the name of the language, but they made up a language for the film. And Eva Green responds to me in the same witch's tongue. And that's when you realise that she's also a witch as well. And my character then stops, sort of looks at her, and then get completely flown up, and she disappears. But to do that, I had to be pulled by the harness really, really quickly, upside down, all the way to the top of the studio, which was quite high actually, sort of about 50 feet up or something. But when I'd finished at the top of the studio, looking down, the scene continued for about 10 seconds afterwards. Before they shouted cut. So obviously I'm dangling upside down from the top of this warehouse building, looking down into this carriage that was on its side, and there was a little square cut out for where the window was. And I could just see into the carriage, and there was Josh Hartnett and Eva Green sort of continuing the scene, looking around like, what just happened there? There was fake snow coming down as well, because it was set in winter. And this fake snow, I don't know if you've ever been somewhere with fake snow, it looks beautiful, but it's horrid to breathe in because it gets tiny little bits of dust basically get stuck on the back of your throat, which make you want to cough, but obviously you can't cough because the scene's still happening. So you have to sort of really hold it in until they yell cut. But for that moment, I was literally like pinching myself because I'd finished my scene. I was now just watching them as a fan of the show and as Charlotte, as me. And every time that happened, we did it quite a few times. I was just looking around the studio from above, bird's eye view of all that was going on, like, the stars in the carriage, the cameras, all of the production team around. And I was like, wow, this is a moment to be part of such a huge production. I got to see it from the bird's eye view as well for like 10 seconds. It was just, that moment was pinch me for me. And that was probably one of the best moments.
Yeah, that sounds like an incredible moment, and it sounds like you had a great time on that set. So I have one more question for you, and this is my favourite question, and it is, do you have any acting stories that you want to share?
I have so many acting stories. Some I can't share. No kidding. I'll definitely share a couple. Well, one on Penny Dreadful, just because we were... sorry. I'll start again. Well, one on Demon Headmaster, which we were talking about earlier. What I found really difficult about working on this production was there were so many funny moments. And of course, you can't laugh in the scene. You can't corpse. They call it corpsing. You really had to stay in character. But there was one particular episode, I think it was like the second to last episode, where the Prime Minister comes to visit the school. And so many things have the kids planted to make it go wrong, to make the headmaster look like a fool, basically. And they were all just so funny that we all kept on cracking up laughing. It was the most difficult thing to film. There was this one moment where the Prime Minister visited the the little cafe that they made inside the school, that they were selling cakes and stuff. And he was asking for this milkshake, and it was a green milkshake, and Laurie, who I think you're going to be into. Oh, I can't say that, can I?
No, you can't say it. That's fine.
Okay. And he goes up to this sort of cafe where the Laurie's character, who I think you're going to be talking to soon, she's running this indoor cafe as like a business scheme for the kids, and she makes these amazing milkshakes as well as making cakes and stuff. So the Prime Minister's like, oh, and there's press around him and everything watching him. Oh, well, I think I'll have one of your, green smoothies, healthy smoothies. And he goes to sort of like look towards it as she puts on the, what's it called, a whizzer. What's that machine called that you make some? Yeah. Okay, so he leans forward as she puts on the blender. The top's not secured properly, but obviously she's doing that on purpose because the whole thing is the kids are supposed to be making a fool of the Prime Minister and the headmaster. So we know what's about to happen as well. We practice this so many times, but obviously we only have a couple of takes to do it because the actor who's playing the Prime Minister, he only has so many costumes, and it goes all over him, this green smoothie juice, and obviously it's going to completely stain. So we have like one take to do this, or two takes. He might have a change of costume. So we're all bracing ourselves because obviously we cannot laugh. It's very serious. And if someone tells you you can't laugh, you really want to laugh, right? So Laurie goes to put on the blender. This green smoothie erupts and goes all over the Prime Minister's face. And he freezes, and he's obviously furious. And we have to stand there like, not laughing. We're not laughing. It's not funny. And then he slowly turns round to show us his face. And he's got to keep it like inside as well, because his character does not find it amusing. But he turns to us, he's got this green juice everywhere, and we have to like keep completely still and not laugh, because that is what makes it funny for the audience. It was the hardest thing to do. It was so funny. There was loads of other things that happened during that day, filming wise, that was just hilarious. But Nicholas Cleves, who plays the Demon Headmaster, he had the toughest job, because obviously as the Demon Headmaster, you cannot be laughing with the kids, right? Like, that's going to completely ruin it. You have to be totally deadpan, totally serious and in character the whole time, which he was amazing at. But there was quite a few moments where we couldn't make eye contact a couple of times, because we knew if we made eye contact, we would just go. It was just too funny. So I think things like that, when you're working on a production that is supposed to be funny, it's almost in the moments that you're being the serious person that makes it funny. It's really hard not to laugh. So yeah, that was a moment for the Demon Headmaster. There were loads of moments like that was just so difficult to keep in the laughter.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good story. Thank you so much for sharing it. I do remember that scene where it like blew up, and I would probably laugh, to be honest, if it was you.
There was also another moment, I'll quickly say, that there was this mural that the students had painted for the Prime Minister's visit. So the Demon Headmaster was so happy to be, and Headmaster, we've got this mural painted for you by our students on the wall, and it's of the students meeting the Prime Minister, and of the Prime Minister meeting the Headmaster with the students around him. And he sort of says, yep, unveil it. And there's two students are sort of pulling down this curtain that's lowering down to show him this mural on the back wall. And graffitied next to the Headmaster was a little speech bubble talking to the Prime Minister. And it said, "You've done a poo." And the Headmaster was literally shaking his hand. The Prime Minister had drawn behind him some kind of stinky poo or something. And it was, again, the funniest thing, because it had to be so deadpan, that every time we were about to do a scene or something that was very serious, we kept repeating this to each other in a very serious tone. "You've done a poo." And it was like just something that we kept saying to each other. And it just, every single time someone said that, we just cracked up laughing. It was so funny, because it's like, it's so silly. Like, we're all adults, right? Apart from obviously the kids, but something that's so silly, it brings you back to, your schoolhood days, like being in this school, filming in the school. You find it so hilarious when it's so silly. Yeah, it does sound like, well, it would have been funny, to be honest. So yeah, well done for keeping a straight face. That's great. But yeah, we have came to the end of the interview now. Is there anything else you want to say? If you guys you know, have any questions, reach out to me. I'm so happy to answer anything when it comes to advice advice or experience in the industry. Feel free to reach out to me. I love helping young actors and sharing experiences. So yeah, definitely keep networking, and yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you so much to you for coming, and I really do appreciate you coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. Also, thank you to everybody who watched this video. I hope you liked the interview, and I'll see you next week for another one. Bye, everyone.
Bye.